Hello and welcome back to Page Chewing Comics and Manga Pick of the Week. This is episode number 51. This is a podcast where we talk about primarily new single issue comics. My name is Mike and I'm back here once again with my friend Steve. If you're joining us for the first time, we're getting back into the weekly poll endeavor, either at our comic shops or possibly digitally. And we also are finding new comics that appeal to our bizarre and twisted tastes. So, Steve, I thought this time we'd try something a little bit different and start us off with just a general question I guess both of us can answer. This is something that occurred to me today. So the question for you is, has this ever happened to you? You go to the comic shop and realize that you forgot to take something off your pull list, only to find out that the series you asked to removed has shown up. And what do you do?
Good question. It has happened too many times to count. And I think it depends on the book. So if it's a sought after book or a popular book, like if it's a Marvel or DC book that's well sought after that will be bought, then I might ask them, I forgot to take this off. I'll take it. If you can sell it, then you can have it. But most of the time I don't buy those kind of books. So it's like, I forgot, it's my fault. So I'll just buy it and suck it up and remember to take it off. So what about you?
Yes, you're very kind. And that's probably the right way to do it. And in my case, it was kind of an uh-oh scenario. Fortunately, it was one of those Marvel, DC, more popular, kinds of things. And so I was just like, is this something I think I said, is this something did I make a mistake? I'm happy to pay for it. What do you want me to do? I kind of really messed it up. Wasn't really happy about how I handled it. So I think that is the right way to go. Like maybe think about it a little bit. And, but I did stammer and kind of come back and say, I'm happy to take it if it's an issue. Cause I don't want to make any fuss or,
yeah. If it's a book that I know they'll sell, then I'll probably ask them. So, hey, I forgot to take this off. I'll buy it, but if you can sell it, but then again, it's tough on the stores right now. So I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to be that guy. So if it's my fault, then I'll just say, hey, I forgot, just for next month, if you could take it off for me.
Yeah.
That way doesn't happen again. Or if it's a popular book and I don't feel like having that conversation, then if there's another person there that may want it, I'll just give it to them because I know I probably won't read it. If it's a Spider-Man or whatever, if there's someone else there browsing, or I'll say, hey, do you want this? I bought it. It's on my pull list. If you want it, you can have it.
Yeah, I felt a little bit. I think it's their bread and butter to have. Mm-hmm. So I think what they may refer to as subscribers,
Yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah, and there's like we were talking before we recorded about how a lot of the shops are small. There's not very many employees, so you make a name for yourself pretty quick because there's not that many people to go around. So if you make a bad impression, then you'll be remembered. And there's not that many stores now, so there's not that many options to go other places. So it's one of those things. But for this week, we had, I'm going to start off with something really, really good because this was nearly my pick of the week. I think the only reason it wasn't is because I picked number 1 last week as the pick, and I didn't want it to be 2 weeks in a row. Trying to spread the love around. But that is Precious Metal number 2. This is the prequel to Little Bird, which I haven't read yet. And I think I'll wait until I finish this series until I go back and read Little Bird. It's dystopian science fiction / horror at its finest. I love the artwork. There's some really haunting, horrific colors and designs and environments. It's it's just great. So in this one, we learn more about Max, who is our main character, and his motivations beyond what we learned in the first issue, and also how hopeless this world really is. Because you do get the impression that it's a hopeless place to live. There's not a whole lot to hang on to, and it's reinforced in this issue. There's very little to look forward to. So yeah, this one was a great issue. I think the story is moving along. It's not a slow burn, but it is rolling out at a pace where when you're building a world like this, I don't think you want everything explained all at once. So I think it's a really good pace that it's rolling out. The plot's developing, the characters are developing. It's all at very steady, very good pace. I think it's perfect. It's enough to keep you going, but it's not going to vomit all over you and tell you everything in the first few pages. So yeah, I think it's great. And that said, I don't know what's going on. Really, there's a lot that I don't know, and I like that. But I have enough to hang on to. So it's the right mixture of what the hell's going on versus I can't wait to learn more. I love what I'm hearing. I love what I'm reading. So it's the perfect mix.
That's great. I did see this one in the store because I just looked up the cover and I didn't know what Little Bird was. Do you know what that is? No.
I've heard of it. I've seen it on a lot of top 10 lists. So I was the name. I remember the name because I've heard about it. But I heard this is a prequel, so that's why I dove into it. And plus, I think even not knowing that, the artwork alone is worth the price of the cover price. So
yeah, it's definitely appealing artwork. Okay, forgot to mention we have a pretty big episode. We have quite a few to cover here, so I'll start talking about what I read, and that the first thing I have is Doctor Who, the 15th Doctor, from Titan Comics, issue number 1. And this is by Dan Waters and Kelsey Ramsey, I believe. So I will admit, I don't know if I'm not a diehard Doctor Who fan, but I did get into the kind of reboot series that, when did it start? I'm going to say, I think they're on season 15, so it's got to be about 15 years ago. But I only got into about the first 15 seasons, and the only reason I stopped is because it disappeared from the streaming service where I was watching it. So I recognize the characteristics of the Doctor here that I know very well, and there's some, there's elements that just don't really change. Where he has a sidekick. There's of course some of the same bad guys. This one features the Cybermen, which if people may or may not know them, but I think they go back to season 1 from when Doctor Who first originated when it was black and white. I believe this is the first person of color Doctor. So it's groundbreaking in that sense. But I generally like the story. Doctor Who, when you're watching it, every episode can be somewhere else in a different time, in a different place, on another planet. You really don't know where it ends up. And this one happens to be like a dystopian version of, I believe, Earth. So the thing it's got a kind of future premise of what would happen after some type of a possibly nuclear holocaust with people basically living in a mall, what's left of a mall, shopping mall. So I guess I generally liked it. It's okay. I'm not over the moon per se, but the thing I wonder is it expanding more on the show? Is it similar, different? How does it line up with the TV show, which I'm way behind on? It didn't feel like I'm like totally out of place. So I think somebody could jump in here if you generally know what's going on with Doctor Who. So overall, I'm okay with it. I may continue, but the artwork is fine. It reminds me a lot of Marvel artwork that we see. So um, so it's good quality.
Is it canon? Do you know is it separate? I wonder if it's canon because I know some people that bothers some people like me.
So that's the thing I don't know, and that's probably the right word. Yeah, I really don't. I really have no idea. I know that this is the 15th Doctor. This is what he looks like. I know that for a fact. So I just don't. Is this a adaptation of episode 1? I doubt it. You can do it kind of anything with Doctor Who, though. There's a lot of malleability.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I better not say anything to piss off any Doctor Who fans because I'm not familiar with it at all. Yeah. So I'm gonna assume that they're loose with the canon. It might be very structured and very loyal to the history, and some franchises are more structured and loyal to the canon than others, and some of them are kind of loose with what they do with the characters and things. So. So the next one is one we both read, which is Napalm Lullaby, number 5. This one had lots and lots and lots of information. Lots of stuff. We learned a lot about the family, the kids, where they came from, their dad, a little bit about the world. We learned more, but I don't know if that was a good or bad thing because it kind of lost me. It just wasn't very interesting, and I don't know how this all fits. I think the series started with a certain feel, and it's kind of been up and down. Like the feeling, the themes of the world that it's kind of developed. It feels like it's very up and down. It feels very uneven, I guess you can say. If we look back to issue 1, it's been feeling a little bit jarring. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I felt the same. We do understand what happens in issue 1, at least in that first sequence with the baby, which happens in issue 1. So it's not really a spoiler or anything. There was maybe we'll talk about it later, but there was some stuff where I was just a little bit disappointed. Like we kind of understand how this world evolved into this authoritarian, system, but I don't really. It's not that compelling.
Yeah.
To me, but the other thing that I noticed that's which is more on the artwork is I do feel that it has a lot of inspiration from manga, but I know you read more, but I wonder if you felt the same. I felt it does. I feel that it does have some, but I wonder if maybe it's just me.
I can see that. Yeah, I think, like you mentioned, I think the backstory just wasn't all that compelling. I think part of that is because the things that were set up in the beginning, it felt very mysterious, and that there was some very, let's say, hard science fiction, but it felt there was. It's kind of let down because it felt a little bit by the numbers. Mm-hmm. I guess you can say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I'll continue because it's Remender.
Me too.
I'm a simp for Remender, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. So the next one is one that I fell in love with the cover of this one. This is Dark Knights of Steel, All Winter 1. This is an Elseworlds tale. It's a dark fantasy. It's a dark fantasy take on Deathstroke. And Deathstroke is a Viking. in this world. And I guess the idea is that if you remove color from the world, the book is in black and white, or at least I guess you could say monochrome. There's shades, but it's very stark. It's very cold. It's very dreary. Very dreary. It's beautiful artwork, just stunning artwork. There was actually some panels that look like the environments are intentionally out of focus, and it gave it like a cinematic feel because the foreground is very clear and the background looks like it's kind of blurry, like it's out of focus. It gave you that very epic feeling to it. It made it feel like it was intentional, and that it worked really well. I do like the take on the setup, but I was a little bit let down with the last couple of pages because I was hoping for. I'll be honest. I see this kind of book and I think it's going to be dark and depressing and brooding and all those things, and it feels like it's going to take a turn and be bright and hopeful. So that's just me. I know some people like that, but I'm not one of those people. So either way, I'll continue reading it. I think there's a lot of potential, and the artwork alone will keep me coming back.
So dark, depressing, and brooding is what you're hoping for. Generally. Yeah. I definitely go for a lot of that stuff. Once in a while, I do appreciate the glimmers of hope. So the next one I have is called Under York. This is by Image Comics by Sylvain Rumberg and Mirka Andolfo. And I'm not sure how I ended up with this one, but, well, actually I do. Somebody suggested, oh, you like Under Heist, so why don't you try Under York? Well, it's got some similarities, but it's just it's not the same level of Under Heist. And it's definitely appealing towards a younger audience, the artwork. And I just should have really taken a little bit more time just kind of looking through to get a sense if this was right for me. But this was kind of a suggestion, and I just went for it. So it starts with a young girl who appears to be, it has a really interesting beginning where a young girl appears to be possessed by a demon. And she threatens her parents. And I thought that was okay. Then we cut to the present day, and the young girl is a struggling artist in New York. And out of nowhere, she is having an art exhibit, even though she appears to be extremely kind of down on her luck, and she's a struggling artist. And just the whole world turns upside down from here with the emergence of all these kind of other, magical beings, if you will. And it just was too much for me. It just didn't have any progression that I like. I don't like just something thrown at you. But I don't know how to describe this, Steve. Maybe if you get a chance to look at it, there is something about it that just the visuals is more of a it's geared toward a younger audience, and that doesn't mean that I shouldn't try it. And it says teen plus on the back. There's ratings on these things. I don't know what that actually means. I think it's like PG-13 and some of the stuff that we like has that. Like I think Sacrificers has that, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm willing to try that. Yeah. So, but this one was not for me.
Yeah, I looked up the cover, and I did see that one. I'm surprised you give it a shot, but you never know. You might find, because it does have like a young adult kind of feel to it, but you never know. You might end up liking it.
Yeah.
So
it has a premise that I believe that she maybe has ties to the Caribbean. or West Africa, because I believe she is doing some voodoo practices, but I don't, I don't know if they're actually following how that's actually done here. I don't know if they did their homework on that.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. You can take a shot once in a while. You might find something you like.
Exactly.
Speaking of taking a shot, okay, so I've been complaining about the G.I. Joe books. Not complaining. Some of them I've complained about, but some of them have been okay. So Destro, I did read the first issue. I thought it was okay. I gave the second one a shot, and I actually enjoyed it. I'm surprised. So this one, it's dealing with very, very heavy themes like propaganda, the military-industrial complex, war profiteering. It touches on a lot of different topics that I thought it did it with a very level hand, like a very steady hand. I don't feel like it's trying to send a message per se, like to a certain political persuasion or the other. It's just exploring these ideas. And I like that. The art, I'm not a huge fan of. It just seems there's not enough. I love art with detail, that's very that kind of, but this one just doesn't have that detail that I like. But it's not bad. It's just not what I would prefer. But overall, yeah, I was impressed with kind of what they've done with this. My concern is that I'll need to read all the different G.I. Joe books to keep track of this one. So I'm hoping that it'll kind of stand on its own, and I won't have to bounce back and forth between the other 5 titles or whatever it is. But I will admit there are some neat characters that it's introducing that I remember from my childhood, and it's kind of neat to see them now on the page and kind of being reimagined a little bit. But yeah, I thought it was good. I liked it.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't he get metal dumped on his head or something? Isn't that his origin story here?
Forget. It hasn't really delved too deep into it, but yeah, I think something happened to him. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're going to use that or not.
I was a Snake Eyes fan back in the day.
He was all the cool kids like Snake. I mean, can't go wrong, right? The ninja, right?
So next up for me, I speaking of dark and brooding, I have Elric, the Necromancer is the subtitle. So Elric is from the fantasy author Michael Moorcock, and he is very, very prolific. And he is for those of you that don't know, he's well known for his ongoing series of many different characters, different main characters. Elric is one of them that composed the Eternal Champion. I won't go into what that is. I'm probably not equipped to explain it. But I have read some work by this, by Michael Moorcock. He's not the author here. The author is Blondell, with Kano and Sachet. And I forgot to mention, this is Titan Comics. But this is an ongoing series, so I knew that jumping into it. Why did I pick this up? The artwork, especially the cover, is just fantastic. I think of the variant cover that I have is just could be, it's could be done by, I don't know, it's by Paulo Grella, Grella. Wow, it's just frightening and haunting. And the artwork and the interior is very good, very detailed, good use of shadows, darker palette here, of course. And Elric has the sword that, if you don't know, called Stormbringer, that is slashing around and Elric flourishes the sword, and you see blood splatter across the page in artistic ways. I won't get into the plot very much. I will just say Elric is an emperor with no kingdom, and he is trying to make peace from his curse. He is a cursed individual. And he does meet a character who is kind of helping him to find some artifact. I don't really know enough about what's actually going on here. They reference names that I don't know. I know about the sword. I felt the pacing actually was a little bit off for me because I kept thinking I was skipping pages. So that jumps around quite a bit. It covers a lot of time, I felt. And that's that's a different style. So I don't think I'm going to continue because I just don't know what's going on. But for anybody that's interested in Elric, I only own one of the books. There's quite a few I would recommend to people, but I'm not very far along, and I don't want to spoil too much for myself because I do plan on reading the series.
That's my hesitation with those books too. Is I want to read the novels, and I don't want to have the first adaptation, the first version I read to be the comic.
Yeah.
Is that snobby?
No, that's great. I think, you know what I did is so he has another character called Corum, and I started reading the Chronicles of Corum. I think there's 6 books, and but then I read the comic after. It was actually, I think Mike Mignola was involved in that comic, so it was really good artwork. But I think it was published quite a long time ago.
Huh. So the next one for me is this will be quick. The next one is Witchblade #1. Why did I pick this up? I don't know. I was never a Witchblade fan. I know that I think there was a live adaptation for a while that I never watched. It was very similar to what was being done at the time when Witchblade had its little run, probably in the early to mid 2000s, give or take. And I just never really got into it. But I thought maybe they're going to have a different take. Maybe they're going to do something different with it. Maybe they're going to reimagine. It'll be kind of something new and fresh. Because Witchblade always seemed to me like a woman in skimpy clothing with a superpower. Like, it's kind of what it was. Which, if that's your thing, then more power to you. I was hoping for more than that. Unfortunately, it wasn't more than that. It just seemed like it was very run by the numbers. Nothing really new nothing new to see here. It just felt like more of the same. And unfortunately, I'm not interested. It just seems very like you've read this book 1,000 times before. Nothing new, which is a bummer because I was hoping they would have a different take on it. But yeah, so I won't be continuing if it's in question.
And the Witchblade itself is like a gauntlet.
Yeah, I think it's like a gauntlet. It's like a piece of equipment or it's some kind of artifact that latches onto people. It almost reminds me of like the Green Lantern rings that it searches for someone and finds someone to attach to.
And then it symbiotically bonds, I guess. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, then it makes you a superhero. And it's like, the superhero thing, I'm just so burnt out on that stuff.
Well, I have similar issues. I think the next one that I have, he's kind of a superhero, but more of an anti-hero. So I'm okay with it. And that's Geiger. This is number 4. I think this is volume 2. So I'm just liking this series. This one has kind of the cover is really interesting. It's got a pile of bodies, and he's like, blasting them with his sidekick, who's called the Nuclear Knight. So this is a post-apocalyptic, post-nuclear war world. And it starts off with his two-headed dog named Barney. And I love that. That's like a plot point and an important part of the story, because that's his friend, and we know that enough about Geiger as a character. He's well developed. We know that matters, and that's what I appreciate about this series is that I know when they make a reference to something, like I know that he likes to find books, that relics of, because he likes to read. I know, it's just I just appreciate that the character has been developed, but I also really like the artwork. And here he meets a bad guy who's like a bounty hunter, and he appears to be in some kind of a like lead-lined suit, so it's got a really cool look. And it seems to be a formidable match for Geiger. One thing that really bothers me at the end here is it's the very last page tells you to power up with merch, and there's t-shirts and hats and all of that stuff, and I wonder how much money that makes for people. But you know what, if people are into it, that's fine. I don't know, I not for me. But so otherwise, I'm enjoying. I'm liking the series. I know there's all this other kind of multiverse happening, but it's not coming in here. So right now it's a contained story.
That's encouraging. I like that. That they stand on their own and don't depend on the other few books that are happening in the same universe. Yeah. So unfortunately, I have another book I wasn't crazy about, and I don't know why I did this either. I made two bad decisions this week. The next one is Phoenix #1, and I have this affinity towards the Dark Phoenix saga because I read all the Claremont books when I was a kid, and I love the X-Men and Dark Phoenix because of that iteration anyway. And I'm just a sucker for the Dark Phoenix, or for the Phoenix character. When I heard about this book, I thought, well, maybe they're going to do something different with it. Maybe it'll be kind of something I can get into. I just couldn't sink my teeth into it. I just don't care. I don't connect with the other characters, with the other plot, like the plots, the other groups, the other galactic groups that it's connecting with. And when you have like a Superman type of character like this, ultra powerful character, it's hard to really worry about them because you know how powerful they are. I think Phoenix is a great character. I think it's a really neat character. I like the Dark Phoenix. I like the villain. I think it's more interesting. I don't know. Another thing is that there was a scandal this week, or I don't say scandal, there was some controversy over whether or not this artwork was traced or stolen. And that was in the back of my mind too. So I think that hampered my enjoyment of the book because I heard about all the claims of the artwork being stolen or traced or heavily influenced. So that was also another thing that I couldn't shake and couldn't enjoy.
And yeah, that's kind of a bummer. You're right. She, from what I know about her, and I haven't really spent probably as much time as you have reading X-Men, but she is really overpowered. But that can get the best of her, and that's when it kind of becomes more interesting, I think. But yeah, it's kind of you kind of know where to go, maybe. So I'm going to get to my pick of the week, which I almost didn't have a pick of the week, even though I do like this series, and part of it is because you've already covered it. But my pick is Ice Cream Man #40, and I know you talked about it last week, so I won't spend too much time. but I gotta say, I'm just really impressed by Prince's writing and just really loving the artwork. I have to say something about the artwork right away, which is there's a lot of Easter eggs in here that I noticed, and that's why I wanted to mention. And so, like references to actually the truck. This is the what you talked about last week. This is the decompression of a car wreck. So now we're getting the viewpoint of the big truck. It's carrying dairy products, frozen dairy products. So it's an ice cream truck.
Wow.
And I was thinking about that, and you actually do see the ice cream man in here, even though he's not a clear character, but it's the smile kind of gives it away a little bit. And then you see ICM quite a bit. It's on the truck. You see symbols of the ice cream cone.
I didn't even catch that. ICM.
I saw it quite a bit. ICM shows up at the newsstand as well. That comes up later, which is an important part of the story because one of the main characters is he's got an article published in the New Yorker. And the thing at the end, which was really interesting, is you actually get the New Yorker article. So it's just like combining, a comic book with, written prose is, I like to see that every now and then because it ties in with the story. It's not like a letter. It's not like letters to the editor or whatever. And it's a revisionist version of the story kind of, but anyway, I just really appreciate what Prince is doing here. So I just have to give a shout out, because for me it's easy to make a pick of the week for this series because it's crazy, it's fun, makes you think. Yeah, I'm really I have to say there is also a Easter egg for the character that was in number 38 that I covered a while ago, where it was like the clone. Forgot his name, but he's in there. So I'm sure there's many other Easter eggs in here for people that know the series.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I do like how Prince is I'm continually impressed with his work, what he's able to do, and he's able to add in a little bit of humor and a little bit of snarkiness, and also very serious and dramatic and heartfelt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
It's not easy to do. All right, so my pick of the week this week was one that I really enjoyed, and that is Into the Unbeing, number 2. So this one, the first issue I thought was okay. The setup is we're in a future that the environment has made it almost impossible to live on Earth. There's a group of scientists that are gathered to explore, kind of like this organization that is trying to find solutions, or at least find ways to make life a little bit easier. And the first issue, that was kind of the setup. And you see the different dynamic with the group, that they don't really get along, of course. And there's different types of, every person in this group has a purpose. They're put together for a reason. They all have different skills, and they all complement each other to complete this mission. They find a cave, and they're not sure what is this cave, and is it alive? Is it a natural cave, or what is it? So in this issue, we learn more about the cave, and also about one of the characters in particular, learn why that person's there, what their motivations are, why they're there. And it kind of threw me a little bit. I was surprised. One thing that really gets to me in these kind of life and death situations, when people are thrown into a life and death situation with almost strangers, I really hate when they have these really these wisecracks back and forth, like this, they're facing this horrible situation, they're joking back and forth and laughing, and that just doesn't happen. That's not going to happen. In this book, that does not happen. They argue, the different characters panic, they kind of go after each other, they don't trust each other. I think that's more interesting to me, is seeing how people react in these really difficult, dangerous life and death situations. So that is more compelling to me. And I think this book did that really, really well. This is basically, if I could kind of give someone an idea who hasn't read it yet, it's almost like The Descent, but on steroids so far. If you've seen the movie The Descent, that's kind of the setup in a way. It's horrifying, mysterious, and ruthless. I thought it was, I can't wait to see what happens next. I hope they pull it off, because what they've done with the second issue, I think, is really setting things up to go some fun places, some fun, violent, dark, horrific places. Not fun like haha funny, but oh my God, I can't believe that just happened kind of fun. So yeah, I think really, really great. It very narrowly edged out Precious Metal, just because I picked Precious Metal last week. So here we are.
Yeah. Wow. I haven't seen the film you mentioned, The Descent, so now I have to see it. I guess I have to see that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's 2003, 2004 survival horror, I'd say. Okay. Yeah, I think it holds up pretty well. There's two different endings to it, but yeah, I won't spoil it for you. But yeah, I think this is a really great series. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do next. So, but for next week, looking forward to next week, what are some that you're looking forward to reading?
Yeah, I think for both of us, I don't want to steal your pick, but we have, of course, Sacrificers coming up. But that might be kind of a given, so I'm going to pick some. I have quite a few. I have quite a few that are more on the horror side, like the other comics that I've already picked up. Pretty much are all horror or horror adjacent. One of them is a long-running anthology series called Epitaphs from the Abyss, and it's from EC Comics. I don't think I've read much from them. I think they've been around for quite a while, so I'm really interested to check that out. There's I think 4 short stories. I don't know if you call that short stories and comics, short comics, with different authors and artists. So looking forward to that one. What about you?
Yes. So the Sacrificers is a given, I think, for both of us. The other one I'm looking forward to is the Six Fingers that comes out. That's released today, or as we're recording this. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that wraps up. And also one that I'm cautiously optimistic about is Blood Squad 7, number 2. Kind of the setup for the first issue was that it's this 90s image extreme kind of group that did some things back then and they disappeared and now they're back, and they're kind of a mess and they're doing things they shouldn't be doing already. So I'm curious to see what happens with that, but definitely the Sacrificers, the Six Fingers, and Blood Squad 7.
I also saw Under Heist, so I have to mention that. Number 5.
Yeah.
So
I need to see if my shop can order the 4th issue for me. I keep forgetting.
Incidentally, I saw an extra one today, so we had extra ones somehow.
Look, see if I can go grab it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good episode today. A lot of books.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. So in the meantime, if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can find us on the forum, which is on pagetwoing.com. Register to be a member if you aren't already. It's a very small, tightly knit, supportive community. Just if you're into the huge communities where everyone's a stranger, may not be the place for you. It's more of a small, we all know each other, or at least, don't know, we don't know each other that well, but like everyone knows you. We're all friends and hang out, and we're very welcoming to new people. So if you'd like to join us, come and talk comics with us. Come and talk books, movies. We always have something going on. So come and hang out and shoot the shit with us. Or if you'd like to, if that's too much of a hassle, we do have a fan mail link in the description, so you can send us a message using that link to tell us how wrong we are about whatever book we talked about this week. Love to hear from you. So until next week, we will talk to everyone very soon.
Bye-bye now.